All right, welcome to Thursday Night Bad Optics, and I am your host, Thorn Inside, and tonight I have the Electric Nuke, the Mad Libertarian, and Mr. Logical Lion. If you guys would like to introduce yourselves, let's start with Electric Nuke.
Hello, I'm the Electric Nuke. Sorry.
No, it's all right, dude. Go ahead, Logical.
He seems really quiet to me, like I can not hear him at all.
Yeah, can you turn yourself up just a tiny bit more?
Yeah, sorry.
It's all good. Go ahead, Logical.
Oh, hi, I'm Logical Lion. I used to do a Sunday show with Thorn, but I live in Asia, so the time zone was killing me. So now I just do videos on YouTube, and I have a Twitter. The Twitter has X's, so anyway, watch my shit. I'm making videos pretty much every other day now, so.
Mad Dodge.
Yeah, my channel's Mad Dodge Productions. I'm also on Twitter at MadLibertarian3. Thanks for having me on, Thorn.
No problem. So tonight we're going to be celebrating the fact that on October 26th, something kind of cool is going to happen, and due to the Freedom of Information Act, all the information regarding the assassination of John F. Kennedy is going to be released. So I thought we'd talk about, first of all, the Magic Bullet conspiracy, Jack Ruby conspiracy, and then basically I'll open the floor to whatever you guys want to talk about. How does that sound?
Perfect.
Yep, sounds good to me.
Cool.
I'm switching to headphones, so I will not be participating.
Alrighty. So first off, there's always been that theory of the second shooter on the grassy knoll, and what is it like? If we start with I guess Mad Dodge, what is your theory on the whole thing of the magic bullet and the grassy knoll and there being a second shooter involved in the assassination of President JFK?
Well, I don't know really about the magic bullet that much. What was it supposed to be, like an ice bullet or something? Like they shot him and it melted or some shit?
Yeah, there's a lot of theories. Some people think that there was some kind of unknown magic bullet technology, or the most common theory is not so much a magic bullet, but that there was a second shooter on the grassy knoll. And I looked at the video basically a long time ago, and I looked at it again last night. And here's the problem with it. First of all, the president's motorcade goes behind a sign at one point. And secondly, the damage to his head could be explained by the simple fact that his head was turned at the time he was struck. Because the grassy knoll theory relies on the fact that he was looking straight forward. And, you know, we can't actually tell that. Because at the moment of impact, he's behind a sign. The view is obscured.
Let me expound real quick on the magic bullet. The reason why it's called a magic bullet is because in the Warren Commission report, the bullet that supposedly struck Governor Connolly. So context. In the car, you had the driver. You had a guy named Governor Connolly, who I think was the Texas governor at the time.
Yes.
And so it goes from left to right as you're looking at the car from the back. Driver, everyone knows where the driver goes. To his right, Governor Connolly. Behind Governor Connolly was the president, and to his left is the First Lady. The magic bullet supposedly went through Kennedy's neck, into Connolly's shoulder, out Connolly's arm, turned 90 degrees, and went through Connolly's leg, and then came out pristine. The bullet they found on the gurney in the hospital had no damage to it whatsoever. It looked like someone had just pried it out of the shell casing with pliers. Hence the magic bullet.
So they don't believe it could have been a ricochet, that it came out through his arm, ricocheted off of something in the car, and then came back to his leg? Not just magically pivoted, you know what I mean?
I can't explain the lack of damage, but it's not totally impossible for a bullet to ricochet off something inside the body and come out in an unexpected angle.
Yes, and there's actually, with the magic bullet, I did a report in 7th grade, 8th grade on this, where I researched it kind of ad nauseum, and Dade in chat goes, "It was me." Anyway, and the thing was, Governor Connolly the bullet that hit Kennedy's neck was the second bullet fired. It was the second shot. Governor Connolly had started to turn after the first shot, and so the wounds that he has are consistent if his seat is about 6 inches lower. Well, as it turns out, in the presidential limousine of the time, the passenger seat is always lower by about 6 inches. So the magic bullet really wasn't magic. But why did they find a pristine shell on the gurney and then call that the bullet that went through the president and Connolly? The wounds are consistent. The bullet is not.
Yeah, I agree with you. What I'm really confused about with the whole Kennedy assassination is the Bambushka lady. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
the lady
yeah.
that looked. Yeah, and how did she was calm as can be, recording everything, and then just strolls out of there, never to be heard from again, right?
Yeah, so when the shots rang out, you would think that a normal person, upon like hearing the shots and seeing this, would have ducked like everybody else in the crowd. But she's still standing there and she's still filming, and then afterwards she just walks away. How fucking weird is that?
Yeah, that's what makes me think there is somewhat of a conspiracy here. Like, maybe she knew about it and she was there to film it or something. Maybe the CIA was involved at that point. Because the Secret Service shouldn't have let her just leave. She had film of it. She could have had that angle that you were talking about. You know, when he went behind the sign, she could have recorded what happened.
From the place that she was standing along the street, she almost undoubtedly would have had a perfect angle to see that. And yet that film never came forward. You would think that if you were there and you filmed the president being assassinated, you would turn that film into somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you guys think, Logical? Like, you seem like you've read more into this than I have, so.
Yeah, it begs the question why. Like, there was a guy with an umbrella who when everyone else was scattering and running, there's pictures of him, and he's also in the background of the Zapruder film. Why did he have his umbrella? Why wasn't he running for cover? How was he stone still? And it was a hot day. He was the only one out there with an umbrella, and he's of course dressed like a CIA guy, sunglasses, black suit.
I haven't actually heard of that one.
Well, I think
the puff of smoke. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, wasn't he in the same area as that lady we were talking about? It's really hard to say Bambushka, so.
Babushka.
Yeah, the Russian lady that got the. Sorry, I was plugging in my headphones, so I came into the tail end of what you were saying, Mad. But you're talking about the Russian lady who also filmed from the opposite angle of Zapruder, yet her film basically has disappeared.
To be fair, the handkerchief over the head at the time period wasn't just like a Russian thing. It was kind of a thing to like protect your hair and shit, especially if you had a perm.
Yeah,
so
fair.
She may not have been Russian.
Fair. It's just an easy descriptor. Well, and then you had those police officers, the Dallas police officers that were running towards the wall as well as the grassy knoll when I think after the second shots, and like the idea that there wasn't a second shooter is just ludicrous to me, given the time frame. Because supposedly Lee Harvey Oswald used a bolt action rifle and fired 3 shots in like 6 seconds, and landed 2 out of the 3, because the first shot hit the cement. You can actually see it, I think, on the Zapruder film. You can see the road, whatever, sparking up after the first shot. I think it was on the Zapruder film. But yeah, I just don't understand. But going to the October 26th declassification, etc. Do you think it's much ado about nothing? Because do you honestly think that after however many years the people involved wouldn't have scrubbed every possible source leading back to them?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of black ink on those files.
Well, isn't that the thing? Is that they were released, redacted, and now we get the whole version, right? We get the names and everything.
Right. If the original versions still exist, I mean, I'm concerned that it's going to be Al Capone's vault. You know, for those of you that remember that. Oh, and a broken-hearted liberal in the chat said that later they found the rifle could fire that many shots. Yes, it can. It's not a matter of ability of the equipment to do that. It's a matter of skill level of the operator. To be able to fire accurately from that distance, 3 shots in 6 seconds is an insanely high level of skill. And Lee Harvey, there's nothing to support the idea that Lee Harvey Oswald was some elite sniper. There's no records of him being that level of good.
Well, was he a military veteran? Kind of like another person that, you know, the guy that blew up Oklahoma City?
Yeah, he was a Marine. He was a former Marine, but he was not a Marine Scout sniper. And in his firearms testing, because we all do that, he wasn't outstanding. I don't believe he got any shooting awards or anything. I mean, I'm speculating. I don't remember off the top of my head if that's accurate, but from my memory, I don't remember him being spectacular. And funny anecdotal story, we do in basic training, I had 2 tests. I had a practice test and then the actual test for your shooting. On the practice test, I hit 29 out of 30 shots. On the actual test, I hit like 19. I barely passed. But the practice one, man, I was on fire.
Oh man, they should let you take the better of the 2 scores.
That's what I said. They didn't agree.
Yeah, that sucks.
So I couldn't do it. I would not be able to be Lee Harvey Oswald. He's apparently a super sniper. He's boom headshot, boom headshot.
Yeah. Straight Sith Male is asking how many key witnesses are dead at this point, 2 or 3. And also, I will point out that 3 shots in 1 hit is actually really fucking bad for a sniper.
Well, he's using a bolt action, a 308 from a elevated position.
Wasn't it a garage?
No scope. Didn't he? Did he have a scope? Yeah, he had a scope. Never mind. I'm stupid.
Oh, I thought it was iron sights for some reason. I must be remembering that wrong.
Google.
Googling.
I got it. I'm the host.
I will defer to you then, Thorne.
Yeah, let's not leave dead air on here for though. Electric Nuke. I don't think we've heard you talk. Paul, you have any thoughts?
Not really. I don't know much about the magic bullet conspiracy.
Can you like get up on your mic, man? You're really quiet. And I'm old, so I don't hear very well, but I think you're pretty low.
Oh, it was a Caracano rifle.
Which tells me what?
The type of rifle. I think it was Italian.
Do those come with scopes?
Yeah, it had a scope.
Yeah, okay.
It did use a scope.
But still, because it's a bolt-action rifle, it's not like a modern semi-automatic where you got your scope lined in, bang, you're going to get a little bit of recoil, but you can immediately find the target again. You're off your shoulder. Well, not necessarily off your shoulder, but you're not going to be looking down the scope while you're working. I mean, maybe you can if you have a high level of skill. I certainly couldn't. But I haven't used bolt-action rifles in, good Lord, 20 years. But anyway, the issue is can a guy fire 3 shots, 6 seconds, with 2 of them hitting potentially fatal, the last one connecting in the head, forcing the head to recoil backwards with explosion coming out the back. That is so telltale to me, and you can watch the Zapruder film 1,000 times and watch Kennedy's head recoil back into the left, brains splattering out all over the trunk. No amount of my experience, and bear in mind, I watch war videos all the time. I'm morbidly fascinated. I've never seen someone get shot from the back and have them fall backwards. Like, it doesn't happen. Bullets cause force. The damage is not caused by the bullet, it's caused by the air behind the bullet.
Mm-hmm. And also, to a lesser extent, the bullet pancaking out.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. You're not going to have a pristine, like the magic bullet. Again, there is no possible way it could have went through 2 people, including shattering bones in Connolly, and come out pristine. I've seen the remains of rifle bullets that have hit deer, because, I used to go hunting with my dad all the time because we're hillbillies. And there's nothing left of the bullet. I mean, he oftentimes had to pick fragments of bullet out of the deer. And that's 1 bone hitting, not 4.
A Dade is saying people don't want to hear the truth about their heroes. That's what happens when you make somebody a martyr, and that's essentially what happened with JFK.
Well, how so? I mean, what is it about discovering the truth would lessen JFK's legacy?
Well, no, just like the man that he was more than the way that he died. But the way that he died makes everybody overlook anything negative about him.
Oh, like he was a
man whore.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, Jim, you know, you're the president of the United States. You're 40-something years old. You're a good-looking guy. Who wouldn't be? Although his wife was pretty hot.
Well, Marilyn Monroe, though, come on. You got to hit that at least once if you have the chance.
Yeah, and interesting that she died. Oh, you know what? Can we progress a little bit in the conspiracy theory? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Let's progress on to Marilyn Monroe.
Gotcha. So Marilyn Monroe supposedly died of a drug overdose. Yeah.
Yes.
How just the timing of that, the evidence involved in that, it's just very bizarre to me. And I've only got kind of a cursory knowledge of it. But then when you look at Jack Ruby killing Lee Harvey Oswald, and we'll never say why, a guy with low-level mob ties, you know, maybe this was his break to be a made man. You got Marilyn Monroe intimately involved with JFK and Robert Kennedy. Poof, ends up dead from a quote-unquote drug overdose despite very bizarre circumstances. And then you have Robert Kennedy getting killed. Like, what did they know? What were they involved in to be offed so quickly and in such a public fashion? I know that Kennedy was kind of striking out against the CIA. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was making a joke. They had dirt on the Clintons.
Oh God.
That's hilarious, dude.
she was gonna trip up Hillary.
The first names on the Clinton death list.
No, but it's kind of hard to believe that there's not a conspiracy. I don't know about Marilyn Monroe. She liked barbiturates a lot.
Yeah.
You know, she could have died of an OD. She also tried to commit suicide a few times. So, you know, that's possible. But
yeah, okay, yeah, I'm with you.
Oswald was dead already. And then somebody killed JFK's brother as soon as he won California and might have been the next president, you know?
Mm-hmm. Also, if Marilyn Monroe was killed through some kind of nefarious means, I would wager that it probably was not it wasn't to do with JFK. I think it was more due to the mob because, again, she had ties to them, which sort of kind of ties into Jack Ruby again.
Well, wasn't JFK's dad kind of in bed with the mob? Wasn't that a big kind of stink on the Kennedy family?
Dude, who wasn't?
Oh, yeah, at that time, yeah, good point. Very good point. Like, so do we buy into at all the idea that the government colluded with the mob? Because have you seen the movie JFK by what's that guy's name? He makes the shit like JFK. Oliver Stone. Have you seen the Oliver Stone movie JFK?
Negative.
I have, but really? A long time ago.
Well, he makes the contention that because Jack Ruby, who was the guy who shot Lee Harvey Oswald, had mob ties, even though supposedly low-level mob ties. Plus, supposedly there was some meetings between Oswald and known mafia folks. That the government, there is a conspiracy theory that the government colluded and worked with the government, I mean, like the CIA, worked with the mob in order to facilitate the hit on JFK because JFK was speaking out against the military-industrial complex and the Federal Reserve. Bear in mind, there was a speech he gave a few weeks before he was killed where, and please, those listening or watching later, look this up. He says in the speech that there is a secret cabal behind the scenes pulling the strings and we have to stop it. Couple weeks later, he has a bad day in Dallas. Look this shit up. He was the last president to stand up against the Federal Reserve. He was also the last. Actually, that's not true. He was the last president before Reagan to publicly speak out against the Federal Reserve. Reagan was almost assassinated. And I'm not trying to be a conspiracy nut, but
yeah, Reagan was shot by a lunatic.
So.
Oh, I lost. Oh God, no.
Are we
Yeah.
Did we lose
Well,
connection?
A little bit, yeah. Sorry. Can I pull it back to Marilyn Monroe for a second? Because
Of course.
the last person to contact her was Peter Lawford, who is another actor. He was hoping to get her to attend his party, and she said some extremely weird shit before she kind of drifted off on the phone. She said, "Say goodbye to Pat, say goodbye to the president," which is Lawford's brother-in-law, "and say goodbye to yourself because you're a nice guy." And then she kind of like passed out. So he calls his agent, who tries to reach Dr. Greason, who is, I guess, her doctor and then her lawyer. And finally, Rude called Monroe's house and was assured by her housekeeper that she was fine. There's a lot of weird stuff in the few hours right before her death. The housekeeper at 3 a.m., the housekeeper woke up sensing that something was wrong and saw a light from under Monroe's bedroom door, but was not able to get a response and found the doors locked. She telephoned Greenson, which is her doctor, on whose advice she looked through a window and said she saw her lying face down on her bed, covered by a sheet, and clutching a telephone receiver. Yeah, doesn't seem like anybody entered the room, though, because the door was locked and they had to break a window to find her, but that phone call is really fucking strange.
Do you think that it was a suicide? Do you think that she was kind of at the early stages of drifting off to the forever sleep when she was on the phone?
Yeah, LA coroner actually ruled it a probable suicide and a definite overdose. She tried before, like Mad Dog said.
Yeah, that's sad. Yeah.
I keep dipping in and out. I don't like this connection.
It could be me, to be honest with you. I have shitty internet. I live in the jungles of Cambodia.
Yeah, but it does sound like a suicide, a little bit.
Yeah, Broken Hearted Liberal saying in chat, saying
goodbye does sound like a suicide.
and I'm not going to jump ship too much, but I want to bring up the Bohemian Grove real quick. In when we were preparing for the show, that was the first thing that we researched was the Bohemian Grove and stuff like this, like the Marilyn Monroe. When you start looking into it, and you can conclude that nothing really nefarious. I mean, there's no evidence to support nefarity. It's innocuous, just a run-of-the-mill suicide. The Bohemian Grove is the same thing. At first glance, it's like, oh, these people are worshiping, you know, this big idol out in the wilderness. But when you actually look into it, no, it's not. There's nothing nefarious there. It's just basically a camp for rich white people, or well, you know, rich people. They don't have to be white, but anyway, the point is, as you research into these conspiracy theories, if you go into it with an open mind, a lot of the times, like the Marilyn Monroe, you come out going, yeah, it's probably a suicide. Nothing really conspiratorial there.
Yeah, I feel the same way about the JFK shooting.
Really, you don't think there's anything real nefarious, that there was a conspiracy?
I don't think
a vast conspiracy.
I don't think that there was a second shooter, but I think that in terms of Oswald, I think Oswald was the only shooter. I don't think there was anyone on the grassy knoll, because, like I said, the whole thing of it going in at a different angle relies on him turning his head, or him having his head straight and not turning his head. Like the entry room wound and exit wound would be wrong.
For what? A shooter
for a
from
second
the front?
shooter. Yeah, no. The entry and exit wound would be wrong if he had his head straight forward, it would line up. But if it was turned, it would be wrong again. And it's probable that he actually had turned his head. But again, it would be nice if we had the film from the babushka lady, because that would confirm it.
On the Zapruder film, after he gets hit in the neck, JFK basically is sitting straight up, stock forward, and then when he gets hit, his head recoils back into the left.
Yes, and the reason that he doesn't move is because he's wearing a back brace.
Okay, but the head doesn't move. Is my point? Is that he is straightforward with his head until the second shot, or third shot rather, back into the left, the left.
I'm talking about the second shot though, not this.
When he got hit in the neck?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the bullet? Okay, so the entry and exit wound in his neck was a straight through, wasn't it?
It was not.
But
it's a straight through if your head is turned.
Are you okay, I'm confused. Are you talking about Governor Connolly or JFK?
JFK.
Okay, the second shot went through JFK's neck.
Oh God, now I'm confused. I'm so tired. Um,
So the second shot went through JFK's neck, into Connolly's shoulder, through his shoulder, into his wrist, through his wrist, and into his thigh. That's the according to the Warren Commission. Now, the only way that could have happened was if Connolly was turned and looking back and roughly 6 inches lower. Further investigation, in my humble opinion, has revealed that that is the case. On the Zapruder film, you can see him turning and looking back at the president, who is in obvious distress, or he's looking for a source of a gunshot because he heard something. Maybe the president said something. Either way, on the Zapruder film, when JFK takes the bullet in the neck and his arms go up, Connolly is turning and looking at him, and then you can see Connolly wince. Plus, those seats are, again, roughly 6 inches lower. So I think that the second bullet did indeed go through Kennedy's neck into Connolly, but it was not the kill shot. The kill shot to me was that third bullet that racked his head back into the left, showering the back of the vehicle with brain matter. That could only happen from a bullet coming from the front, low and front, which is either the grassy knoll or, and here's a crazy conspiracy that I actually lean more towards, the sewage drain along the side of the road, which was very large.
that's a new one.
It was the It style. The It style from the movie It. Those big holes where you can pull a kid down in. That's the kind that was there, and it was in a perfect position to fire and do the kind of wound that hit JFK. It comes from low, up through his head, from left to right, which would cause JFK's head to go back and to the right, or left, whatever direction. It matches up, is what I'm trying to say.
You know, that seems more plausible to me than the grassy knoll, because what are you going to do? Lay prone there? You're going to get your shot off, and then you're just going to walk away with your rifle? I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they would have closed off that area so quickly. You wouldn't be able to get out with the rifle like that.
Also, with the grassy knoll, you're in public. Even if we assume that he hid behind the brick wall that was there, you're out in the open. These sewers are very old sewer systems that are roughly 5-6 feet tall. They're made so that people can walk through them. So you can go and, fix the sewers and shit. So it's not unrealistic to put someone in there with the guarantee kill shot, because you'd only be like 15 feet from the president. I mean, it would be such an easy shot. And if you want to guarantee, you got one guy behind, one guy in front, forming somewhat of a triangulation of crossfire. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that could be too. I didn't think about the sewer.
There's a great documentary on the YouTubes that really digs into the idea of someone shooting from the sewer, and I had already kind of suspected, or had looked at other articles and read other things about this, because this has been plaguing me my whole life. Having done a report on it in 7th grade, it's bothered me forever. And this documentary, I recommend people look it up. JFK shooter in the sewer or something like that on YouTube. It's a great documentary. My wife brought up something about Marylin Monroe. Why would the housekeeper suddenly wake up sensing something was wrong at 3 a.m.? That seems dubious to me.
I mean, it could be, or it could just generally be that maybe there was something that she normally did that she wasn't doing, or just like something woke her up. Like, I've heard that happen with all sorts of mundane shit, or just like I just felt like something was wrong. It's just a bad feeling people get sometimes. That might not be nefarious at all, but the fact that the door was locked when they got there and they had to break a window kind of shows that, like, nobody really entered or exited the house.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that the locked doors and windows definitely kind of adds dubiosity to the theory that she was killed. In the chat, Broken Heart Liberal says, people wouldn't hear from the sewer. Yes, they did. And there was tons of people interviewed immediately after the fact saying, I heard a shot from over here. I heard a gunshot from over here. If you're hearing a gunshot but not seeing a gun, it's got to be hidden somewhere. And what better place than basically underground?
Did the mob or the mafia, whatever you want to call them, have a presence in Texas at this time?
But the mafia has a presence friggin' everywhere. They were everywhere.
Yeah, they're mobile.
Well, because, maybe they did both. Maybe they set up Oswald as a patsy. He, fired from up there. Maybe he missed. Maybe, logical's right. And then they had their low-end guy kill Oswald. And then it was, a year or two later, they killed Bobby. So, I don't know. It could have all just been the mafia and not really a government conspiracy, but that's still a conspiracy.
Yeah, what about Jack Ruby? Like, why kill Lee Harvey Oswald before trial, before anything? You know, he's screaming, I'm a patsy, I'm a patsy. Why would some low-level mob guy kill him? And when interviewed, the only thing he ever said about killing Lee Harvey Oswald was that this guy killed my president, I love my country. Horseshit, man. You're not going to go to jail for the rest of your life. I mean, this guy it wasn't like he was a well-known campaigner for Kennedy. It's so dubious, man. It's insane that the guy who could potentially provide evidence into the conspiracy gets murdered before he even has a chance to go to trial by some nobody, you know, some mob nobody.
Yeah. I don't necessarily believe the government had anything to do with it. But then again, the CIA was having dealings with the mafia, and there was a lot of people grumbling about him being, you know, JFK being the first Catholic president. They thought he had more allegiance to the Pope than to the country. That was a big thing in the campaign as well.
Yeah, but of course that's just campaign rhetoric to try and make him the other. I tweeted about that to Lee Camp earlier about how our politics has devolved into you don't vote for the guy you like, you vote against the guy you don't like. But anyway, I wonder what do you think would be more terrifying, that the government was involved and covered it up, or the mob had the power to assassinate a president and get away with it?
Oh, the mob, definitely. For sure. I mean, it's kind of frightening that just an outside group outside the government could actually grow to that kind of power to actually have pull over whether or not the leader of the free world lives or dies.
Yeah, and the balls on them to do that if they did. You know,
yeah, no matter who it was. Yeah.
Yeah, White Sith Male was saying that, and I corrected him a little bit. He was saying that the mob had a lot of pull up into the late 70s. Cicero was basically still being run by the mob in the early 80s, so they still had some pull, I think, up until, I think they really started to wane in the 90s, because like Chicago basically put together a huge task force to take them down, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other cities followed suit.
Yeah, let's not deceive ourselves. The mob had a very public image thanks to John Gotti et al. But the idea that they've been wiped out, we're talking a multi-100-year organization starting in Sicily, you know, back in the late Middle Ages, basically. They're not gone. They're definitely not gone. They're certainly not public like they once were. They're not brash anymore, but they're definitely not gone.
Oh, no, there's no way they're gone, but they definitely don't have the pull that they used to.
Yeah, boom. Straight Sith Male says, just look at George Soros. Thank you, sir. That is a great example. While not part of the actual mob, that's a good indication of what the power of money can do. And the mob has a whole lot of money.
Well, that's what I was saying. It's scary that a third person that has nothing to do with the government can have such pull over the government as to assassinate a president. And George Soros, whether or not I believe all that stuff, is a good example.
Yeah, it's corporatocracy. It's where we find ourselves. And shill for my channel, watch my latest video. It's all about small business being crushed because of corporatocracy and the death of the middle class.
It's pretty good. Y'all should watch it.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, I always look forward to critique. Anyway, I wanted to kind of transition, since we're talking about the power of rich people, into Pedowood and Hollywood and the conspiracy, basically, of the pedophile rings and fake relationships, because the wife and I did a lot of research into Hollywood fake relationships, because Hollywood is all about manipulation. It's every single thing that every single person who is deeply involved in Hollywood does on a daily basis is marketing. Period. Their relationships are fake for marketing. Behind the scenes, and now that we've scratched the surface with Harvey Weinstein and, you know, all this other bullshit, and Pedowood, if all of it's marketing with these fake relationships, and we start to scratch the surface a little bit, and what ekes out is Pedowood and Harvey Weinstein, holy shit, what a cesspool that place is. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And there's a lot of people that came out in the past and were just ignored. I can't remember his name, but there's a child actor that came out and said he was
Todd Bridges.
Okay, yeah. And nobody believed him. They all just almost laughed at him. It's quite sad.
Yeah, and that's the question. Is it as prevalent as Todd Bridges, Corey Feldman, Elijah Wood, as they would have us believe? And I'm talking about Pedowood here, not Harvey Weinstein Rapewood. We'll definitely get to that.
No, yeah, I think it totally is. It doesn't even. It's not even set strictly in the United States. I mean, if you want to go across the pond, there's people there was kids for years, or adults and kids for years, that were saying that Jimmy Savile was molesting children, but they didn't even figure out that they didn't even figure out that this was actually true until the dude was dead. And there's hundreds of allegations of sexual abuse and sometimes necrophilia against him.
Yeah, and Jello Man, Bill Cosby. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah.
This shit goes on for years, decades. And this whole thing with Harvey Weinstein, what really pisses me off is that you have all these big name actresses coming out now and being like, oh, he once made advances at me, or he tried to touch me. And it's like, when did this happen? Oh, 2000, when you were the third highest grossing female actress in the world, and you had no power, no authority, no notoriety that you could speak out then and prevent future victims? No, you didn't have any of that. So you're going to come out now and be like, oh, I was a victim. Bullshit. You're an enabler.
Yeah. Oh, Quentin Tarantino came out today. He's like, yeah, I knew all about this. I wish I would have said something. How many other people do you know, Quentin?
No kidding. 2014, Seth MacFarlane makes that joke at the Oscars about the Best Supporting Actress category. He said, now these are women. Congratulations to these women. They have made it to the won't have to pretend to be attracted to Harvey Weinstein level. And he got laughter. It was kind of muted laughter, but if you're laughing at that joke, how do you know that it's a joke unless this shit is just run of the mill? Everybody knows about Harvey.
I've seen that clip. That laughter is just like the, yeah, he's gross.
Yeah. Oh, what a true statement. Oh, yeah. And yet nobody does anything about it. And again, if Harvey Weinstein is happening, Pedowood looks more and more realistic. Pedowood looks, and are you familiar with the term Pedowood?
Yeah.
Yes.
Anybody? Okay, good. Yeah, I always make the assumption that people I'm talking to have the same data that I do, so I tend to go off without explaining the backstory.
Have you seen all the stuff about Dan Schneider and his foot fetish?
What?
Yes. Do you believe? Okay, so that's the iCarly guy. For those of you familiar with the iCarly show. Yeah, and there's supposedly, do you mind, Electric, since you're kind of quiet, if I just run with this and throw in the backstory?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, cool. So Dan Schneider is a producer or writer or both for a lot of Nickelodeon shows, including iCarly. And you'll notice on iCarly, there's a ton of episodes involving feet. And on his Instagram, his social media profiles, he always has pictures of feet, young girls and young boys' feet. Well, mostly young girls. He also, there's messages that he has sent on social media saying, like, you want to come over, I'll rub your feet, to 15, 16-year-old actresses who are like, hey, Dan Schneider, not doing anything, you want to go get a bite to eat or something like that. And he's like, why don't you come over, I'll rub your feet. He's just a creepy dude who works with children. And if Pedowood is a real thing, he probably is doing more than working with them.
Ew. It's just like all the stuff that's been coming out with Hollywood makes me feel so slimy, because you're always enjoying the movies and having a good time, and all this shit is coming out. It stopped killing my childhood.
Yeah, thank you. I was telling my wife earlier today, when I look at a Hollywood actor now, and I was using the example of Kevin Spacey, who I find I like Kevin Spacey. I've seen him in lots of interviews. I think he's probably a genuinely good person. But now I'm thinking, is he though? Is he, smiling for the camera and going, oh, I believe in all these causes. I'm a good guy. All right. Yeah. Thanks for the interview. Good. Goes back to his trailer and molests his co-star, his 12-year-old co-star. It really damages your dreamland ideal that Hollywood once was.
Yeah. I was saying in the chat, is a gilded turd.
Yeah. Good example. Well, and we know this shit has been going on for years, and we know that they cover up and they live fake lives, like Rock Hudson marrying Phyllis, whatever their name was. You know, Rock Hudson was he was like the Tom Cruise of his day back in the 50s or whatever.
Oh yeah, he was bi.
Gay,
Yeah.
gay, gay as a $3 bill. But he married someone to dispel the illusion.
It's queer as a $3 bill.
I know, but that's not very PC.
It's like, when have you ever worried about being PC? Come on.
Yeah, true, but I'm on your stream and I want to be respectful.
No, as long as we're not hurling racial epithets, I save that for Commander's stream.
All right, no promises.
Well, I have a question though. Could this be the reason why you see so many of these child actors and actresses have downward spirals? Like Macaulay Culkin, isn't he still hooked on heroin? I mean,
yeah.
Like, right. Todd Bridges talked about that. His drug abuse was a result of the shame and the, all the shit that comes with being raped as a kid. God, there's a great documentary called An Open Secret, and I've been sending it on Twitter to anyone that I can think of. It's a documentary about Pedowood, and it's great. It is so, it's great. What a terrible word. It's a beacon of light onto a nasty, nasty place. And the damage to these children. Rattle them off the top of your head. Help me out, honey. The really
Lindsay Lohan.
There you go, Lindsay Lohan. The chick that died, Brittany Murphy. Think about all the actors and actresses that have died in there. Amanda Bynes, Britney Spears. Yeah.
Miley Cyrus is a train wreck too.
Yeah, Miley Cyrus. God, all of these, Jesus, you literally can just run through an alphabetical list of child stars, and most of them had severe traumatic breakdowns. Why? Like, there has to be something going on besides, all the drugs and shit.
Also, to be fair, Macaulay Culkin and Britney Spears basically lost the parent lottery as well.
Well, but I would contend that most child stars, if not all child stars, lost the parent lottery because the child is not the one saying, I want to go to Hollywood. I want to be a movie star. My daughter does. She likes to put on puppet shows, and I'm not going to throw her in a van and ship her to Hollywood and say, hey, send postcards when you get meaningful work, because that's what most of these parents do. They send them to Hollywood.
Yeah, my son is 12. He wants to do a YouTube channel, and I don't even want him to do that, much less Hollywood.
Yeah, I wouldn't let them, or at the very least, I'd very much. No, I would. Maybe I'd let them, but like no comments. You're not talking to any of these people, because I've seen the people in my comments, and I don't even have that many followers.
Now that brings up a great question, because if you're going to do child acting or be enter the cesspit, you should have a parent by your side. On this documentary, An Open Secret, they are showing a clip of a casting director speaking to young wannabe actors and actresses and saying, if I ask for your resume and your headshot and you say, oh, my mom has it out in the other room, that's a big pet peeve of mine. Your parents should not be responsible for your resume and headshot. By the time you're 8 years old, you should be responsible for yourself. What? So she is suggesting that these children should be going to their casting calls or whatever solo, without parents, and in fact parents are not allowed in during the actual casting interviews with these children. That's incredibly shady.
Yeah, if I ever have kids, yeah, this is not a thing that's ever happening. Also, part of the reason you think some of these kids end up a train wreck, could it be that the ones that get really famous, the Miley Cyruses, the Lindsay Lohans, especially like the Miley Cyrus, because Miley Cyrus, her dad is famous, or somewhat famous too, and the Macaulay Culkin, is because they never actually experience reality as the rest of us growing up do, and it's kind of like it's kind of like a shock. Because like basically their entire childhood is pretend.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you? Sorry. Go ahead, man.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say it's like the really religious families that homeschool and totally shelter their kids 100%. I'm for homeschooling, but not completely sheltering. They end up turning 18 and then going crazy at college. You know what I mean? Or they run away. And go ahead, Logical. You were trying to say something, but yeah, like I think it's on par, really. When you
Right.
show them and have them in
Sorry.
an echo chamber, then they end up freaking out when they get of age.
Okay, hang on. I'm actually going to pass the mic to my wife. She wanted to do a opine. No, okay. Well, then just say what you were going to say, and I'll do your.
She can opine. That's fine.
You know how she's super shy, Storm. You know that.
Oh, okay.
What do you got? What'd you say? Never mind. Okay. I appreciate what you're saying, Mad. And never mind. It's gone. I was so preoccupied with getting my wife's input that I completely forgot my own. What were you saying? It'll come back to me. I'm sorry. Repeat your last briefly.
Well, I'm just saying, to sum it up real short this time, if somebody's really sheltered and just like either super religious.
Oh, yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm on board with what you're saying, and I want to kind of attach that to Miley Cyrus and her childhood. You would think that with Billy Ray being in the industry and having seen the shit that goes on, Miley wouldn't have been a casualty of it, right? I mean, he should have been better prepared than a run-of-the-mill parent who is looking at the fake relationships and the fake shit that comes out of Hollywood of this dreamland paradise. Everybody's rich, everybody's happy, life is magical, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you would think he would know how to kind of guide her through that.
So Dade's saying that he messed up. So so you think it was just a failing of bad parenting, or do you think it was a Miley, you have to do this shit, go along to get? Because that seems to me with the Harvey Weinstein thing, why no one, the only reason really that you get from anyone about why they didn't come forward sooner is because go along to get along. You know, if I just grit my teeth and pretend that, you know, he's not bathing in front of me, I'll get my movie role. You know, and if I make waves, I won't get any more movie roles.
It's fucked up.
What, and it gives these people unbelievable power. Because if you have the ability to literally crush someone's livelihood with a snap of your fingers, and I'm not talking about like, I'm going to fire you from McDonald's if you don't blow me. It's a fucking $8 an hour job. Fire me, bitch. We're talking multi-million-dollar careers. I mean, I'd suck a dick for $1 million.
Oh, go ahead, Thor. Sorry.
No, go ahead. That's fine.
No, it was another joke. I was going to say that's how Tom Cruise made it big. But yeah, it's only been real to say.
Oh.
Speaking of Tom Cruise, I'm so glad you brought that piece of shit up. So one of the things that we were researching was this fake relationships thing. And we just spent, before the show, probably the last hour and a half reading about Tom Cruise. And Tom Cruise and Scientology basically working together on Tom Cruise's image. So if you believe all the tales, and I don't know how much you guys know about Tom Cruise and his contractual wives. Summer, you're so cute. Anyway, oh, that's cute. Okay, give me a sec, sweetheart. So anyway, Tom Cruise, back to Tom Cruise. Starting with Nicole Kidman, he married Nicole Kidman. They were together. If you believe what Tom Cruise says in his divorce filings, they were married 9 years, 11 months. Because if you hit 12 months in California, you arbitrarily fall into their 50-50 rule where 50% of the assets go to each person. So since Tom Cruise was infinitely more wealthy than her, you know, 280 million to her, like, I don't know, 80 or something, 90, yeah. Wait a minute. Anyway, if you believe the idea that, or if you believe Tom Cruise, however, Nicole, who is also this is important to Katie Holmes and Scientology, etc. I'll get to that. It's a bit of a rant. But anyway, if you believe what she says is that they were married until February when he actually filed, putting her in the 50-50. Now, if their relationship was all about love or whatever, she should, you know, file and say, no, we were here, but leave it at that. But no. It's all about the money because she claims she had a miscarriage weeks after the divorce and kept the placenta to DNA test it to prove it was Tom's. Now,
So
what
weird.
woman, seriously, in your life that you have met would keep the placenta from out of a miscarriage in order to prove who the father was? Like, what?
Oh God,
Who
please don't
does
make me
that?
answer that question.
You're like my mom.
No, Otho Zelosa was he knows like a hippie lesbian couple that like ate it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's nasty. But bear in
Yeah.
mind, and a little bit of context, a placenta at the time that she claims that she got pregnant in December. So my wife and I did some research on how big a placenta would have been. Imagine one of those erasers, a pink eraser. That's about the size of the placenta. So as the blood, and sorry to get graphic, but as the blood in chunks or the miscarriage, she would have had to fish through it to find the placenta in order to keep it.
Gross.
Come on.
Yeah. I am not a date. I'm not clicking that link.
Yeah.
He's like, it's more like this.
Yeah.
Yep, that link is gonna stay unclicked. Thank you very much.
Yeah, if you're going, actually, it's like this. Yeah, no, not gonna do that. So anyway, so Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise get divorced after 10 years. Now, keep that in your mind, 10 years. And then he goes on a bunch of dates or whatever. And one of those dates is with a gal named, oh, there it is, Nazanin, I don't know, some Italian chick, Nazanin Beniadi or something. Later, she gets interviewed, and she says that her quote-unquote dates with Tom were arranged by the Church of Scientology. She was interviewed by the Church of Scientology. She thought she was auditioning for a role in these meetings with Tom Cruise, because that's what she had been told leading into it. And then she asks one of the handlers, wait, am I being set up to be in a relationship with Tom Cruise? And then Tom said, okay, no more. We don't want to deal with this chick. And so that like ended it for her. But she came out later and was like, it was the weirdest thing. I was auditioning for a role. Another rumor is that.
Hold up, Brian. First of all, you're breaking
Jennifer
up
Garner.
again.
There you go. Jennifer Garner, Jennifer Aniston, and Scarlett. What?
Oh, hold up just a second. I wanted to kind of actually respond to this.
Sorry.
None of this would surprise me, and of all the conspiracy theories we talked about tonight, I think this is the one that is, well, I mean, the Pedowood is definitely a thing, but this is probably the one that strikes me as the most likely, because Scientology has been proven a cult. They have armed guards outside of their fucking, they have disappeared people. What is it, like the wife of one of the heads hasn't been seen in over a decade now. That nobody knows if she's alive or not. Like, this is a group of people that's literally made folks disappear. This is the least terrible thing that they've done.
Yeah, it's the tie is the kind of the grand scheme of my long-winded monologue is the tie-in between Scientology and Hollywood, to where they're picking and choosing relationships based on how it would affect the market, based on how we will respond. That's terrifying. That's propaganda.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
Am I breaking up badly? I'm noticing in chat that it's
pretty noticeable. Yeah, that's why I started talking.
Okay, thank you. I apologize.
No, it's all good. But yeah.
We have bamboo for our internet lines.
Yeah, he has bamboo Ethernet cables. It's really quite primitive. It's amazing that any of it actually works. Like, everything over there is just fucking made of like bamboo and leaves and a prayer. Hey, but yeah, Scientology, I cannot remember her name, but yeah, she's been missing for a decade, and I'm pretty sure she's dead.
Oh shit.
I'm pretty sure she's dead. No, as missing as in she went into a compound and never came out, and even her family that are in Scientology have not heard from this woman.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Nobody should have that kind of power.
Yeah, it's nuts. And the reason they did that is because she knows all the secrets, so she can't talk. They couldn't let her talk. Yeah, that's another group that's kind of terrifyingly powerful. Yeah. I'm
Still alive? Is there anyone still alive involved in the JFK thing that would be shamed or maybe brought up on charges after the 26th?
I don't think anyone's alive anymore, honestly. I could look at, yeah, no, nobody's alive anymore. All the key witnesses are dead. Huh. Yeah, Jack Ruby's dead. Oswald's dead. Most of those mafia dudes are either already in jail or dead. So yeah, I don't know what really could actually come of all this. Nuke.
Well, if the government was involved in any way, like they had dealings with the mafia and they turned a blind eye, then the government and the CIA would be, held liable, I would think.
Oh, I mean, that's not even a fucking conspiracy. Of course, the government had something to do with that, at least at the state level. I wouldn't be surprised. Go ahead. Go ahead, Nuke.
All right. I just remembered I'm reading a book right now called The Rational Animal, and it talks briefly about the Kennedy curse and how a lot of misfortune happened to the Kennedy family. But then it also discusses how a lot of these conspiracies and stuff could just be coincidences that your brain just tries to find a pattern in things. Like if you flipped a coin 50 times, then told someone to find what the pattern was, they'd make something up in their heads to make sense of it, even though it's completely random and just a coincidence.
All right. It's like mental pareidolia.
Yeah.
What's pareidolia?
Pareidolia is like, have you ever seen those people that are absolutely convinced that there's a picture of Jesus in this water stain on the wall? It's basically your brain trying to see something in patterns that isn't actually there.
Interesting. I've never heard that word.
Yeah, that's the word for that. Is for basically seeing a face in a piece of toast, or hey, that cloud looks like a fish.
And it's biologically important. It's an evolutionary trait. If you are looking at two animals coming running at you, a gazelle and a lion, it's in your best interest to know which is which.
Mm-hmm. Or to actually like react with the worst, basically react in the most negative way and run, even if it was something that wasn't harmful to you.
Yeah, profiling is a natural thing. We profile everything.
Mm-hmm. It's 10:57. I'm gonna start wrapping this up because I gotta walk the dog. I has to go.
Is that a euphemism?
No, I literally have to walk the dog. As in the small furry creature that relies on me for sustenance.
Okay, in chat, the voice of one put, Hillary was on the grassy knoll. My wife and I laughed at that. That's pretty good.
That's great. She has a dog. Yes, I do have a dog. I'm going to wrap it up. If you guys want to shill yourselves, I'm going to go from right to left as it is on my screen. So Nuke goes first.
All right. I have a new video about exorcisms and Bob Larson, and also the Beardbarian responded to one of my videos about him. So go check that out, I guess, if you're interested.
Nuke makes good stuff. Matt, Mad Libertarian.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I already told everybody my channel name, but I'll do it again. Mad Dodge Productions. Yeah, thank you. I'd love to come back on sometime.
Awesome. Logical.
Hello. As before, Logical Line.
You're breaking up again.
Sorry, look me up. Bye.
Okay. Also, all of their Twitter handles are in the description to this video, so you can also find them there and find their YouTube channels via that link. As you know, as long as they put the link in there. Anyway, this has been Bad Optics. I am Thorn Inside. You already know what I'm all about because you're on my channel. So I should have a video coming out either late this, well, it already is late this week, but Saturday or Monday. So look for that. It's about bromances. Talk to you folks later. I know, right? Not that kind of bromance. Sort of that kind of romance. You'll see. But bye, folks.